Meanwhile, taking a look back at the draft, this happens every single year, Dave. We always hear this. Usually it's a season or two beyond the draft that fans will be mad that their team took player A and they should have taken player B. Player B was there the whole time, and instead you went with player A. And we've certainly heard it here with, they took L.J. Collier, they took Malik McDowell, they should have taken this guy was there, that guy was there. But I want to get past the Monday morning quarterback part of it and get to it right now for the football fans out there. Let's not wait until somebody has a tremendous amount of success at the pro level or failure for that matter. Who's a player out there, if you think there is one, that the Seahawks are going to regret passing on? Is there a player that stands out to you that you saw sitting there, whether it was at 16, whether it was in the third round, the fourth round, what have you, anywhere the Seahawks picked, where you felt like, how did you not take so-and-so?
Yeah, I kind of went through the list and looked at everything, and the one guy I wonder about is Peyton Wilson. Mm-hmm. And he got taken in the third round, which the Seahawks, I think, were 15 or 16 picks ahead of that, and they took Christian Haynes. But Peyton Wilson was one of this guy was the Butkus Award winner. He was, all conference. He had every kind of, as far as awards, postseason awards that you can get. And watching him play, he's just nasty. He's kind of a tall, leaner guy, but he's a second-level linebacker. And, we'll see with Tyrese Knight. We'll talk about him a little bit later, but I don't know. Peyton Wilson was the guy that stood out and he's also one of the reasons why everybody gave Pittsburgh a really good grade. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is the guys who are grading are often doing the mock drafts. And so if somebody takes, who they think was good, it's obviously
they think they're geniuses.
Yeah, and I think Pittsburgh got like an A- or something because they got Fautanu and
he's the one
Peyton
I was
Wilson.
thinking of that people would say that they would look at. Because he was the one that was mocked to the Seahawks so often in the first round.
Right.
Now, I haven't seen any complaints about Byron Murphy, even from our texters who like to complain about everything.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those. But I thought if somebody was going to point out, and again, you can text in 866-979-3776, powered by Mac and Jack's Brewing Company. If somebody were going to answer that question, I felt like that might be the name that would come up most often because of the Husky connection, because we need O-line, because everybody felt like it was a fait accompli. He was going to end up here because that's what everybody thought. It didn't work out that way, and I'm wondering if now people are looking at it going, yeah, I like Byron Murphy, but they're going to regret not taking Fautanu.
Yeah, I don't know. He's another one, and this is where that Peyton Wilson mine, where I think he was like the 95th pick or something like that. I heard about the injuries and the kind of rumors and everything around him.
With Fautanu?
No, I'm talking about Peyton Wilson,
okay.
For the guy that and look, that's just something you're going to have to give up. But yeah, Fautanu is another guy with a knee. Mm-hmm. Supposedly there was some concern there. So I don't disagree with the Seahawks with what they do. Last year I wanted them to take Tyjae Spears and then found out afterwards doesn't have an ACL, so which I still don't know how that works. But yeah, they're just not going to do that. And again, I think we talked about it yesterday. There's not, there are a lot of things you can't control, like what sort of route a guy's personality takes when he gets money, although a lot of these guys have NIL money, but what that kind of thing, or maybe he just doesn't take that next step. But the one thing that you can be super careful about and you can kind of control is the medical report. Mm-hmm. And if you're just not, and again, go back to Rashad Penny, guy was never hurt in college and then gets in the NFL. So you can't predict it, but if you've had a past, and like I always say, I think by the time I got in the NFL, I'd already had like 3 surgeries and, broken finger and torn ligaments and things like that in my hands. And, so that's something you can control. And I think that's, with Fautanu, and I'll go ahead and say it about the guy I picked, Peyton Wilson, I just think I'm not going to regret them passing on a guy that might be a medical concern.
Yeah, and that's fair. This is all, it's all subjective. There are people that have favorite players. Maybe it's from a school they watched all the time, or they're an alum of that school, so they're very familiar with this player, and how did you not take him? One name I kept hearing when it came to linebackers was Jeremiah Trotter Jr., mm-hmm. and he's a guy that was there. They went with Tyrese Knight. Now, Trotter Jr. didn't go until the 5th round. So the Seahawks weren't the only team to pass on him, and I don't know what sort of problems people saw with him, but he was a guy that I saw people praising. When I say people, analysts and those praising his play, and Knight seems to be the most. I don't know, controversial is a strong word. He's not controversial, but he seems to be the pick that they're being criticized for most, that they felt like he was not a fourth rounder. He would have been available later, and some feeling Jeremiah Trotter Jr. was better. We'll see how it plays out. But those are the two names. Fautanu was the obvious one I thought people would throw in there if you ask them that question. Who are the Seahawks going to regret passing on? That's one I thought would be an obvious answer, and then maybe Trotter would be another one. But
yeah,
I'm curious what the listeners, if they, or maybe they don't feel like they have any regrets.
Yeah, the other thing too I might throw in there is, what about taking a shot on a middle round quarterback? And Spencer Rattler, he went with the number 150.
Go to the Saints?
Yes,
yeah,
he did.
Right?
Yeah, fifth rounder. And, that was one maybe they could have taken a flyer on, but I don't know. That we'll ask John about that. But, yeah, he did go to the Saints, and I thought he was intriguing, kind of an interesting player. And, he transferred and was an immediate captain at South Carolina, and I thought maybe that was another one that, they might have taken a look at. But, man, if you watch Peyton Wilson's – if you look at his highlight film or just watch any game that he played in, he's just all over the field and nasty, and just, he's kind of unorthodox, like kind of a tall, skinny guy. I would compare him to like Jack Lambert, because Jack Lambert was like 6'4", 210. Just not a very big guy, and he's also nasty.
We got a couple people, sorry to cut you off, but a couple people texting in, one saying Brock was saying Peyton Wilson was another guy without an ACL. And then a separate guy said Wilson doesn't have an ACL either.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
I don't know how you get around that these days.
I thought that was a necessary element in the knee to keep it stable.
It's supposed to keep it stable.
That's a stabilizing force, right? I don't know how you run I don't need it.
Well, I got mine replaced, and it dissolved after a while. It's because I went like 2 years ago.
Oh, metabolized or whatever?
Yeah, my body just sort of, ate it up. So I'm like, hey, what's holding my knee together? And he said, arthritis. I'm like, oh, good. So I got that going for me. The arthritis is keeping my knee in place. But I don't get that whole part. But yeah, that was the thing about Peyton Wilson, that he had some injury concerns there.